Okay. All right, so welcome to your part to profitable and scalable ecom business. I have put together this presentation on the back of the recent sale of my smoke alarm business, as quite a few people have inquired about the business and a few other people wanted to learn more about our niche approach. So here it is. So let's start with, myself. My name is Alexei. As you know, I've been in digital marketing for over 20 years. In fact, I started in 2004, and it does sound like a lifetime right now. My focus is niche marketing. So I specifically specialize in finding a niche in a particular business and focusing on marketing that specific niche. There is a bit of an approach that I follow, which is what I'm going to share with you today. But overall, there's obviously many different marketing companies and everybody specializes in their own avenues. For me, personally, it's the niche marketing side of things. I worked with thousands of businesses over the past 20 years. I found that working with a diversity of businesses brings up a lot of different challenges, but at the same time, one of the key to success was really the whole niche focus, in my opinion. As you can see by the photo, we've been featured on the Current Affair, and this is something that's happened actually twice over the last year and a half. Thanks to Kanye West. If you want to check that out, Google us up. But this is really something that's allowed us to validate our business as an agency and put us on the national scale, thanks to Channel 9. And more recently, I've been actually selling businesses. In fact, I sold the smoke alarm business as well as another business I had, which was the fish pond cleaning business. And this is all about finding those niches. And I've based a lot of my businesses on that sort of concept, which is what I'm going to share with you today. Besides, obviously, all the business, I enjoy my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, spending time with my wonderful family. I've got twin boys and a baby girl, and I love my fishing whenever I get a chance. So in terms of what I do, I do run a digital marketing agency. I have a business podcast called Better Business, in case you guys want to pick up some ideas or obviously find out more about people that help me influence what I do. I do interview quite a few business owners and coaches. Check out Better Business podcast. I run coaching programs, and over COVID, I started doing this a little bit more heavily, focusing on the whole sales process, because I do find that marketing is one component, but when it comes to the sales process, it's often disconnected. And when it comes to ecom, you're essentially relying on the website to do all the selling for you. But my main focus is to actually help business owners grow business. And this is not just about marketing. Often it's actually about a strategy or the bigger picture as well. So today's agenda, which is what I want to go over today, is, want to tell you a little bit about my journey, how I ended up doing all this sort of stuff. I want to talk about, obviously, finding niches, because many people are obviously requesting this webinar, starting businesses or looking to buy a business. And obviously, there are some existing business owners that are obviously looking to do better. And I want to talk to you about a few little tips and tricks that I've basically utilized. One of them is about securing a great domain name, because I find many people starting from scratch often miss this particular part. We're going to address the website dilemma, building the website, choosing platform, and then we're going to talk about a few marketing tactics as well. Now, I do want to keep the content somewhat general. And if you got any particular questions, feel free to use the chat function of this Zoom call to ask the question, or we'll do a Q&A session right at the end. I am sure many of you will have various questions. But at the end of the day, I think I'd like to share with you my approach. And if there's anything that you're doing different, I'm happy to discuss that right at the end. So if you guys maybe just want to mute yourself for the duration of the call, so we're not going to get any interruptions, and use the chat function in case you'd like to ask a question or prompt something, that would be ideal. All right, so let's go with my journey. So I finished my Bachelor of IT majoring in ecom at QUT in 2004, and I found myself as one of those graduates who didn't quite know what they were going to do. And I think I was quite lucky to actually end up working for my next door neighbor, surprisingly, who was into management consulting. And they were the big advocates of the whole 80-20 principle. And this is something that, unfortunately, they don't really teach you at university. However, the concept, the Pareto principle, if you want to call it that, is so natural and simple and can really be seen everywhere, these guys had a whole business built around it. There are all these books about the 80-20. And this is something I feel that actually got me onto the niche marketing idea initially, which is where 20% of your efforts gets you 80% of the results, or 20% of your business drives majority of your revenue, if you want to put it in another perspective. So that's where the whole thing really started for me. In 2006, I started doing a lot of niche marketing for these guys, working on ebooks and membership site projects. And the whole idea was really about finding a niche and dominating that niche from the perspective of expertise, as well as obviously reflecting on the marketing side of things as well. So that was my start to the journey. In 2012, I actually started an agency. Prior to it, I worked as a freelancer, which allowed me to sort of travel the country and live a very interesting life. But starting an agency was another interesting point, and that actually allowed me to really scale what I do. And that was mainly based around Google Ads. In 2018, I actually decided to start my own businesses because I found that there's obviously quite a few business ideas that people would normally come to you with, and I could see a lot of opportunities. So as a result, I started a domestic cleaning company with my wife, a fish pond cleaning business, and a few other side avenues as well. I've obviously tested out quite a few different concepts, and look, I wasn't always successful at that, but these are the businesses that actually really took off. A couple of online stores sort of, were break even. There were a couple of, duds, but overall, sort of allowed me to have a real play with a couple of real businesses. And more later, last year, I actually found myself, seeing that there was a huge gap in the market. A lot of businesses that would come to you for marketing execution actually lack strategy. And this led me to this new business avenue, which is what's called fractional CMO. So this is where small to medium businesses have got a marketing team, but they don't have the actual strategy, or they don't have anybody auditing that strategy or allowing to keep that on track. So I actually work with a couple of businesses right now as a fractional CMO, allowing them to fill the gaps in order to get to where they actually want to be. So that's what I'm doing right now. So let's talk about the niche approach. And look, I want to keep it obviously simple. At the same time, you can go as deep as you want with the whole idea. So we sort of came up with our own niche marketing approach. I find that a lot of people, take this different, and there's no, right or wrong. It's essentially what works, right? So with us, this is the approach that we took, and it is very specific to what I'm going to show you today. I find, like I said, it's simple and effective. And, my ideal is to keep things simple. Overcomplicating things is not what you want. Complicating things is something that is hard to scale. So simplicity is something that allows you to scale the whole thing. I find that this approach works quite well for service-based and e-com type businesses. And overall, you could probably apply it in a few B2B niches as well. So let's talk about the 7-step process. So first of all, you got to start with a product. You got to find your product, and then from there, the next step, ideally, is research of the actual market. What I find most people do is they find an awesome product and then they just jump into the marketing. I think that is the biggest mistake people make. Going for research and understanding the competitors to develop a point of difference or a strong position is really something that allows you to take your business to another level. So please make sure you understand the demand from the market, so your potential customers, as well as the competitors that you're facing, to make sure that you understand what sets you apart from the competition. Because look, there is JB Hi-Fi, there is Officeworks, there is Video Pro. There's a lot of different businesses that are essentially in the same market, but somehow they get by. So essentially, each business develops their own customer base, and they're able to sell things side by side. And while it seems like they are price shopping, there's actually a lot more to it. And this is where a niche business with a very strong point of difference can really take off. I find that if you're doing things, online, getting a great domain is a huge part of your success. Many businesses start with an idea or a brand, and they do a lot of brainstorming. Well, look, the easiest thing you can do is find out exactly what the actual keywords are that people are searching, and find a domain name exactly around that niche. Now, this is something I'm going to show you today. It may not look, as sexy as a particular brand name, but at the same time, you can run two brand names side by side. You can call your business one thing, but have a domain name that actually reflects on the keyword. And actually, two things will be bringing you to exactly the same website. So getting a great domain name, in my opinion, is one of the key success metrics that a lot of people are missing. make sure you build a website. And building a website is something that can be done in many different ways. You can try to do it yourself. You can get an agency. You can buy one. At the end of the day, it's something that's going to be done right, specific to the market that you're addressing. Run marketing. So this is very broad, but I wanted to keep it broad because some people do a lot better with social media marketing. If you understand how to run that, great. If you're into Google ads and stuff, Google ads is a great starting point, in my opinion, especially when it comes to search side of things. One part that a lot of people are missing is building the authority and trust. So once you get your marketing, once you get your initial sales, a lot of people drop the ball if they don't get the results that they're after. They either break even or they make a very little profit and they feel, oh, that's it, that's not really working out. I would highly recommend putting a bit of a sandbox period of, let's say, a month to 3 months. If you're able to operate in a break-even scenario without wasting too much time, you really need to channel all that effort towards building an authority, getting Google reviews, establishing your store reputation. There is another review plugin that basically goes into online stores. Have a look at trust factors like websites like Trustpilot and product reviews. And once you build that up, you're actually able to see how your marketing over time becomes more and more effective, and you're able to actually convert people a lot faster. The reason why this happens is because people would take multiple interactions in order to buy from you. So they're not just going to look at your ad and buy from you. They will actually go and do research on your business before they check out. And look, the more known your brand is, the more frictionless this process becomes. So make sure that you build an authority and trust around your business if you really want to scale. So don't give up if you've been running your business for a month to 3 months, and then you're finding that you're just breaking even, or you just just covering the cost of your shipping. So make sure you're not missing this part. And number 7, this for some reason for some people is something that doesn't make any sense, but you want to generate a list. Now, the money is in the list. If you generate a list, and typically I'm talking about opt-in on your website where you can generate names and emails, you're able to market to that database, in my opinion, in the most cost-effective way. So email marketing, SMS marketing, WhatsApp, all the things that can really follow on that initial contact are bouncing off the list. Now, I know what majority of people will say. I hate those pop-ups. I never use them. Well, at the same time, if you're going to look into an average conversion rate, which is about 2% on the website, that means 1 in 50 people buying once they land on your site. I'm talking averages here, by the way. There's really no second chance for you to be able to sell to those other 49 people. So generating a list, giving people a discount or something else in order to obtain their details, in my opinion, is the best way to actually progress with that sale. And at the same time, this is where you're building the true value for your business if you're wanting to do things like partnerships or addressing the bigger picture, which is something we're going to talk about later as well. So this is really the 7-step process. It's really quite straightforward. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into parts of this process, and we'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of this presentation. So let's talk about finding the perfect niche. Now, perfect niche, everyone's got a different interpretation of the whole thing. Why niche, first of all? I find that problem-based niches work best. If there's a real desire and a problem behind a particular product, typically that's something that people will be buying a lot more. Now, the whole niche concept is great because you can easily become an authority just in that particular space. And what I find is a lot of business owners find themselves competing with the bigger brands like Bunnings, for example. And the issue is, look, Bunnings does everything, but they're not specifically specializing in any particular avenues, which is where if you're going to take a venture like Smoke Alarms, which is the online store that I just sold, you can actually dominate that niche really, really well. In fact, that's exactly what we've done. We beat, since we started, we were ranking above Bunnings, pretty much from get-go. And I find that a lot of people underestimate the power of niche in order to be able to dominate it. You have a very defined target audience. In the example of Smoke Alarms, for example, we are looking at an audience with a very specific desire. So we know that these people are based in Queensland. We know that these people are investors and they're wanting to buy smoke alarms because of the legislation. So the audience is very well defined. We're not marketing to anyone else. And overall, you're finding less competitors. If you're just focusing on the one product and you're not really spreading your message or marketing efforts across everything else, you are essentially competing with less people. And if you understand the whole idea of creative and marketing message, it is then more focused specifically at that audience and at the actual problem as well. In fact, in case you're wondering what this nest and the shell thing's got to do with it, so nidus is the Latin name for nest, which translates as a niche. Niche is the French word, and then there's an Italian nichio, which is a seashell. Look, the overall idea is that it's something that is closed, it's something that's got a life of its own inside a particular contained environment. That's the message that I really want to portray. And if you think about it, the life of a shell, it all happens inside. You don't really get to see a lot of it. So finding a niche is essentially like discovering a gem, something that's not open to everybody. At the same time, it's available once you get your attention focused on it. So that is the whole focus of niche, and that's why niches work. So to identify a niche, there's a whole bunch of different resources. And look, I think that the best thing to do is to understand the demand of the customers. So if you have a look at like Amazon bestsellers or Shopify training products, you will find a whole bunch of different categories, number one bestsellers and that sort of stuff. And overall, what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a niche, let's say we're talking about e-com products here. I'm actually looking for similarities. Am I seeing the same sort of product across all these different platforms? And another really good thing is Google Trends. If you type in those particular products, you can actually get to see whether the trend has just taken off or it's been cooking for a while, and you can have a look at how it's going around the world. The little tip I'd like to give you is the US market is obviously the biggest and the most aggressive market. So if you obviously want to check a trend across the US first before you start checking Australia, you'll actually get a lot more insights on that. And really, it's a whole timing game. If you want to get into something sooner, well, you can dominate it sooner as well. Another approach to look into your niche is actually have a look at your experience and skills, check out your interests, and understand where there are audience needs. Now, this is the classic approach, and that works really well with service-based businesses. However, when you're talking about e-com, oftentimes this leads into a bit of a paralysis because a lot of people are trying to find something that they understand and like, and what the audience also needs as well. I personally don't recommend that approach unless you're going for a service-based scenario. But if you're looking for a product, doesn't really matter what it is that you sell, as long as there is a market for it and you know exactly how to deliver a great experience and set yourself apart, I think you should give it a crack. All right, so let's talk about the niche parameters. I find that it's really important to have a product solve a particular problem. Look, there's a lot of products that are like nice to have, and oftentimes it might seem like they're not really solving a particular problem. Like, for example, you may remember those spinners, right? Like a lot of people had the spinners as like a huge trend, but in reality, those things were solving a particular problem. When it came down to people with like attention problems and people with various disorders and whatnot. So you have to understand that target audience and the actual problem that the product is solving. And if you're looking at a product and you think, hey, this isn't solving any problem, it's just like a nice to have thing, well, you may want to research that deeper to understand exactly what this is about. So I find that getting a product that's massive, that's big and bulky, is something that's going to create a lot of chaos. So don't set yourself up to fail, because if you're going to be selling furniture or doing drop shipping from overseas of like huge and bulky products, you're going to get a lot of inquiries from people in relation to the delivery of their products or customs. And honestly, I know some people that do really well with like furniture online stores, but I personally like things that are easy and fairly cheap to ship. So you want something under a couple of kilos, something that can be delivered fairly quickly, and it's frictionless as well. Because last thing, believe me, is inquiries from customers wondering where their product is. I think that you would ideally want a transaction which is over $250. Now, why that figure? Look, we've done a lot of research, and we obviously work with quite a few businesses. Some of them, in hundreds of millions of dollars. We find that anything below that typically ends up being as like a break-even type of product. Once you consider the customer service, the shipping fees, the return fees, and just look at the whole bigger picture, you'll find that $250 is roughly the breaking point. Now, we're talking about a scalable business. Don't forget that. If you're wanting to do something where you go and install things yourself, it's a different scenario. So, for example, if I was looking at a niche of installing smoke alarms here in Brisbane, even if it was $200 that you'd be making per transaction, that'd be great. But the scalability of the business is jeopardized. So you obviously would need to hire people, and then the whole model would change. So when it comes to e-com, I find that 250 is that breaking point. Now, I may be wrong, but if you're going to consider the whole Australian market where your shipping will vary between, let's say, $10 and $100, depending where you're sending, and trust me, regional Western Australia can cost a lot more. You really, will be losing dollars if you go beyond this point. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but the only way I've seen this work best is where the actual product was shipped in a normal envelope with a $2 stamp on it. So that's the part that you really got to consider. Brand trust. So if you have a product that's branded, that works really, really well. Now, what I found myself is that there are a lot of established brands, especially in Australia, that are actually not very well publicized. So while there is a brand and a bit of a following, the public doesn't know anything about them. So this is where you actually have to help them deliver that brand trust. And to do that, that's a totally different exercise. But things like YouTube videos and potentially product review pages definitely help. But brand trust is something that really drives the whole product. Otherwise, people don't know what it's all about. They just think it's just another one of those Chinese products. And differentiating it from the competitors becomes really, really hard. Quality guarantee. If you can guarantee quality, or if you can guarantee the actual product application. So with smoke alarms, for example, we offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. And look, people don't like giving money-back guarantee, but at the same time, well, you have a 30-day window by law. If you sell something in Australia, unless it's obviously changed recently, you within 30 days can bring that product back. You may have to pay for obviously the depreciation of that product, but overall 30 days is there. It's the Australian consumer law. 90 days we found is something that people don't really go with, because once the product is working, in the case of smoke alarms, they're just not going to bring it back. But at the same time, that really sets us apart from all the competitors. So we can guarantee the quality, and we can guarantee the actual product itself. Now, if you can do that with the product that you find, I think that takes it completely to another level. And support. So one thing that a lot of people want is to be able to get support once they buy the product. Do they get support in installing the product? Do they get support in troubleshooting the product? Do they get some sort of a support with exchanging of the product or getting the right sort of thing? This is something that can really set you apart. So what we have done is we have actually employed an overseas a person in the Philippines to provide support around our product, where a lot of people actually called. So the point of difference that we created was we put a phone number on our website where everybody else tried to avoid it, where our customer could speak to a real person. That really created a big point of difference. So hopefully by now you can understand that this isn't just about price. If you can provide a quality guarantee as well as the support that nobody else provides, you will win so many more customers as a result. So searching for products. Now, this is the $1 million question, or some people will absolutely waste all their time trying to do it. But I would highly recommend looking first of all as to what's on the market. So once you found a niche, have a look what people are selling. If someone's selling a particular brand, well, it doesn't mean that you can't sell that brand. You have to obviously do your supplier research and understand the sort of pricing tiers and the terms that they are offering. And then from there, have a look at the actual product origin. So if you want to take the whole thing to another level, look, I'd say 90% of all the products you're going to find on the Australian shelves are made in China. Okay, so that means that if you take a particular product and find one of those agents in China, and there's many different ways you can approach that, they will find you the factory and give you all the pricing as to where you can actually buy that. So it really depends to what degree you want to take that. And overall, you have to really evaluate the logistics. So what we've done with the smoke alarm business, we looked at that. We found the actual product, which was a lot cheaper to buy from China. However, we were losing the brand and we were losing the support of the actual supplier. So the supplier was offering to do all the after sale troubleshooting. So if somebody had someone had an issue with the smoke alarm that they bought, they basically would call directly to the brand, and the brand would sort them out. So for us, we didn't want to lose that part. So you have to really evaluate the logistics, because while you can make a lot more money selling the product, the after service, the returns, the the volume of transaction afterwards just going to kill the business. So please make sure you have a look into that side of things. But obviously, if that is fairly light and the product is bulletproof, then you may want to go specifically to the origin. And then it just comes down to the volumes that you can actually buy. And then you have to understand the logistics as well. Interesting thing, over the last year, I think there would have been at least 2 port strikes that I'm aware of, which actually create severe delays in products coming from China. So people who rely on that particular avenue have had a bit of an issue getting their products in time. So for those who run online stores, you can actually do like a potentially like a pre-launch or a wait list type thing on your website. So you're not going to miss out on sales too much, but obviously that does create a little bit of a friction as well. So make sure you do your due diligence before you commit to something huge. So let's have a look at the niche case study. So what we found was the photoelectric smoke alarms niche. So this was about the whole, Queensland legislation, where basically every rental property required to have a smoke alarm installed in every single room, and they needed to be interconnected. So photoelectric smoke alarms or wireless smoke alarms or interconnected smoke alarms is the actual niche. So we went with photoelectric smoke alarms because that had the most searches. And we found a brand called Emerald Smoke Alarms. We found others afterwards, but these guys basically were quite approachable. And we had a relationship with somebody who was using their product. And this is a bit of a tip for you as well. You may find that there's another business interacting with a particular brand. So you can actually get pretty good terms through them. That's exactly what we did. So we actually entered that relationship by relying on someone else dealing with them and say, hey, look, can we get the best terms that you guys are getting by working with you? And they said, yeah, no worries. Let's do this. Let's do a joint venture. And that's the way we basically got the absolute top tier selling opportunity with Emerald Alarms based on somebody else's trust. And this is something that a lot of people don't even consider. You guys most of the time think about your own abilities, but in my opinion and in my experience, developing partnerships and working through your partnerships gets you much further. So you can rely on other people's connections. You can rely on other people's trust. You can rely on the transaction volumes in order to get a much better deal. So I highly recommend strategically to approach your partnerships. Emerald was an Australian brand, started in 2006. So that was very appealing to us and our customers. And like I said, the Queensland legislation has really driven this whole thing. So we kicked off the store in June 2021, and there's actually going to be another legislation change in 2027, which is about getting the rest of the properties in Queensland. So all the residential properties will have to have these alarms. So there's going to be actually another trend coming up for this. The average sale in this particular business is $393 across the entire time that we've been running the business. So that actually meets our guidelines quite well. So as a bigger picture, what I like to also highlight is that many business owners, when it comes to e-com, they just stop with the transaction of their online store. But I find that what really drives the business is to create upsell opportunities. What is it that you can actually offer people after they sale? Can you get them to come back? So we found there's other products and there's other avenues that we can actually get people to buy from us, which is where our list kicked in. And we found that a lot of people wanted to get the installation of the smoke alarms as well. So we started a whole division for installation using local suppliers. So now this is a completely different model. However, you have to understand that majority of installations that require any electrical work are obviously done by the electricians. So this enables us to tap into the electrician market and offer them our products in order to expand on our revenues. Now, the dilemma that a lot of people don't understand is that, like, why would an electrician work with you as opposed to the actual brand itself? Well, it's actually quite simple. Whenever you start an engagement with, let's say, a brand as an electrician, in our case, you will find that you need to buy a certain quantity. You need to obviously, be paying certain tiers. And then from there, it's just about the flexibility of making these transactions. Whereas we offered people very flexible terms and a very competitive price where they could buy whatever quantity they wanted without any obstacles. So Emerald directly wanted them to buy, a couple of boxes at a time, obviously to save in the logistics. We could just, offer them, 10 or 20 units, and that actually worked out quite well. So as a result of offering the installation services, we also tapped into the B2B market, getting these electricians to buy from us directly. We found that the database that we had was pretty much made of property investors. Now, if you can put two and two together, this is quite a valuable database. That means that these people are obviously renting their properties out or doing Airbnb. And essentially, they're either looking to sell these properties or refinance against them. So this is where we started partnering with a lot of people in the whole property space, wanting to capitalize on this database. Now, we're talking about a database of over 6,000 people. So even if we're going to get 1% of these people into, let's say, mortgage broking or another service, that is some serious dollars that we're talking about here. So we have started a few avenues, and yeah, it's obviously it's not something that unfolds overnight, but we are finding that there are some interesting results that are coming through as a result of this. Partnership opportunities. Having a online store with 6,000 customers where you send out monthly emails and making a certain revenue from that is very appealing to a lot of companies. So have a think about who else may be in the same market who wants to bounce off your database where you could potentially make a sale from. So could you sell your competitors' products? Could you sell your partner's product? Could you sell something else that meets the market? Having a database is something that allows you to develop partnerships and also bargain for that as well. Going to other smoke alarm brands saying, hey, this is what we've done. We are one of the top 3 companies in Australia selling photoelectric smoke alarms, has allowed us to get really good terms. In fact, another brand called Red Alarms is something that we picked up as a result. And actually recently these 2 brands have merged. Emerald and Red have merged. So this is the online store that I'm talking about. So it's called Smoke Alarm Photoelectric, as per that brand over there. So we started in June 2021, and until recently, there's been $2.6 million worth of sales, and that's the average sale value. So we're finding that while obviously the legislation of 2022 is well gone, we still going over, I'd say, $40,000 to $50,000 in revenue every single month. So it's not something that's going to stop. The market will change. And what we also found is that afterwards, a lot of competitors have dropped off the face of the earth as well while we continued. So it's quite interesting, but the market is still there. So let's talk about domains. So as you would have noticed, smoke alarms and the photoelectric thing is a part of that domain name. So I thought, to cover this, because I think a lot of people come to us as an agency with a domain name or an idea that doesn't reflect the whole search. So what you want to do is, first of all, focus on a keyword rich domain name. What I mean by that is, if you do your keyword research and find out what's actually trending, you want the main keywords to be a part of the domain name. Now, there's many different views on this. However, I can guarantee you, if you're going to search for something real specific, you will find a domain name that reflects those keywords. In fact, Google highlights these keywords for you, so you can actually spot that quite easily. You really want to get a domain name that's not new, but established. So the thing with this is that if you're going to get a new domain name and you're going to put it into Google, Google will put you in the sandbox for about 3 months at least before they start ranking your website or actually treating it as a proper business. So there's a bit of a buffer period, if you like. And if a domain name has been registered in the past, typically the authority of that domain name is a lot more established. Besides, you get all the backlinks and you've got a lot of other things coming with that as well. So in case you don't understand what a domain name is, it's that green part in this picture on the right, which actually reflects the keyword, which is exactly what we want. Now, the backlinks is the one part that a lot of people don't quite understand. This is the cornerstone of all your SEO. It basically is about authoritative websites pointing back to your website to endorse it. So think about this as the process where someone's just finished a PhD and has become a doctor in something, and then you've got other professors and doctors endorsing that person, saying, hey, that person is now a doctor. So essentially they're passing their authority to that person to validate who they are. With backlinks and websites, it works exactly the same way. So you want backlinks to your website from other sources. And when you buy an established domain, typically you get a lot of these things along with it. So we'll talk about this in a second. A bonus would be getting website content as well. If you had a website at that domain name in the past and it's actually relevant to what you're wanting to do, bingo, you found something that you can actually reuse pretty much straight away, and Google will index your website and put it out of sandbox very, very quickly. So expired domains. Have a look at a website called expireddomains.net. There's a free registration there that allows you to access this particular search. And what you're really looking for is something that's preferably over 5 years old. I mean, The older, the better. You can sometimes find domain names from like the 90s, but you basically want something that's well established, preferably with an existing website. If there hasn't been an existing website, can be a bit of an issue, but it's not crucial as long as the domain name has sort of passed a certain period. And one other bonus tip that I'd like to give you is if you can get that particular website term as a business name, that would be great. Because one thing that Google does now is they actually run a business by an ABN. And if that ABN is actually connected to the domain name, you'll actually have more relevance. So in our case, we were able to secure a business name called Photoelectric Smoke Alarms. So if you can do something like that around your niche, around your main keyword, that is a bonus as well. That means that the actual Australian business register will validate that particular domain name for you as well. And for the past websites, there's a free service called Wayback Time Machine. Love looking at this sometimes because you can really find websites from years and years ago. Now, this is not 100%. You'll find that some websites won't come up or they'll have a bit of missing content. But overall, you can check out what your, I don't know, uni website was like back in like 1999, if you like. So that allows you to do things like that. So expired domains. If I wanted to basically tap into this whole smoke alarm market, and I'm doing a search here for smoke alarms, I'm going to find a whole bunch of different domain names popping up. And you can see, this ABY column was obviously the year when they've been registered. The ones that are not available either have been private or they're just basically new. But you can see from here that Sydney Smoke Alarms, for example, is something that's been registered in 2009. And you can see, obviously, the backlinks, the BL column and whatnot. So you've got photoelectricsmokealarm.com.au, which is actually a great domain name if you wanted to do exactly what we've done here. And overall, this gives you a lot of insights. Like, I'm not going to go too deep into it. If you got some time, just have a play with it. I'm sure you'll figure it out. And each one of these columns will actually tell you exactly what each one of the variables is. And if I was to have a look at the Sydney Smoke Alarms, I am looking at this website through the Wayback Time Machine, and it shows me that in 2020, there was a whole website on smoke alarms. So I could actually go and resurrect this website, rewrite the content, change the content information, and boom, off it goes. So if a customer comes to us with a business in a particular area, and they're obviously open to jump starting their business online, I would actually advise going with something like this. So Sydney Smoke Alarms, amazing brand. And in fact, there's some people that actually go and resurrect websites like this, change the details, and then sell them as business as well. So if you're into something like that, or if you're wanting like a new business avenue, this is something you can quite easily do with very little knowledge. In fact, we've got some business associate, Matt and Liz Rad, who actually teach people how to buy and sell businesses in a similar way. But look, this isn't the point of this presentation, but I just wanted to show you that there's a lot of stuff that's available where you could have spent so much time trying to put something together. Look, there's a logo there. There is the content over there. There's everything else. Obviously, make sure you do your due diligence. I don't advise you just copying things over. You need to understand exactly what's happening. I mean, I've come across painting businesses in Brisbane where someone's been operating for 30 years and shut down the business purely because they didn't have an exit plan. And they had Google reviews. They had everything. They've got the entire presence just sitting there waiting for someone to take over. So do your due diligence, have a look at it. I think this is a gem within itself. All right, so let's talk about the website dilemma. Hopefully you guys are still following me. I know I speak fast, and maybe this isn't something that is for everybody, but let's continue. The website dilemma. So building or buying the website. I find that this seems to be a bit of a dilemma for people who are essentially wanting to jump into business fast. And I get it. Look, a lot of people go and build their site, and that's the only natural process. Well, for a lot of people, they're looking to buy a business as opposed to start a new business. And it's much the same with the website. So I think you got to consider the pros and cons of the exact situation. Whenever you're buying a business, I think you are much further ahead because you're able to address a lot of points you haven't even learned about. And if you're wanting to do something, have a look into that market because you will pick up quite a few little gems about the online business that you haven't even come across. But look, I wouldn't say one is better than another. It just really depends on the actual situation. Like, we have sold this online store, for just under $100,000. And I found that a lot of people had the interest of buying a business. They had no interest of starting a business. They were existing businesses with other revenues, and they either wanted to get another channel to sell what they wanted, or they wanted to capitalize their product in the smoke alarm industry using our channel. So there's different situations there. I think building a good website, it's not easy unless you know how it works. I should have put easy in there instead of each. My apologies. So a lot of people think it's easy, but getting a good website is something that's going to take a little bit of time. And unless you've got the time, then go for it. Otherwise, I think it's much better to engage an agency or someone who's got proven track record. Starting from scratch usually takes a lot more time. And if you're looking to buy websites specifically, there is a website called flipper.com. So it's very similar to like business buying websites. They disclose the actual revenues, traffic, and a heap of other sources, and you can actually go in there and buy a site. So I've actually sold a couple of websites there a while ago, but this is something quite big for ecom right now. If you're looking to obviously buy a business, many of them come with a website. seekbusiness.com.au is something that I use. And in fact, this is where we sold our business. I think it cost us about $400 to list the business. I think that's like a 3 months window. And overall, definitely a very powerful resource. So platform, let's talk about the platform. I think too many people get hung up on this. Do you use Shopify? You use WordPress, PrestaShop? I mean, there's a gazillion of different platforms. And look, I don't think there's a right and wrong. It's just more about the practicalities and the bigger picture. So the first thing I recommend that you consider is the development and ongoing costs. If it's going to cost you 10 grand to build a site and you don't know what sort of revenue you're going to get from it, well, maybe that's not really the avenue you want to take. If obviously you have done your business plan and you understand what you're going to get out of it, then you can justify it. Otherwise, maybe it's worth a while to look at an existing business on Flipper, for example, and find out exactly what they're getting through a site. And if you're going to invest, let's say $40,000-$50,000 into buying something like that, you know exactly what you're buying with the database and all the other things as well. So it's just about understanding the bigger picture and understanding the timelines. I think you got to look into things like ease of managing products. Now, this is not just about the website. The issue that I'm seeing a lot of business owners are facing is the logistics behind the products. Once you get big, inventory management becomes a real headache, and relying on your website to manage the whole thing is not what you want. There are specialized products around this area, but I highly recommend that you look into that before you scale. And what you really want is a website that integrates with other platforms. And I find for that reason, WordPress works out quite well. That's our weapon of choice. We tend to work mainly with WooCommerce, but Shopify works beautifully. Magento works quite well. It really depends, okay? I think you need to understand the marketing processes and how those marketing processes work with your website as well. Because in a lot of cases, changing things on your website can be difficult. And if you're relying on a third party or having to pay for a change each time, then it may become cost prohibitive as well. Content management. So make sure you can post on your website and that content, obviously feeds where it needs to go, whether you're doing content syndication into, Google Business, social media and whatnot. So make sure it's easy, make sure you've got full control over that. And like I said, integrations and changes, if something comes up, how easy is it for you to adapt to it? I mean, don't think of a website as a finished product. It's not a house that you've built and that sort of does what it's supposed to do. It's almost like it's heart surgery in process 24/7. So essentially, you're adding things, you're removing things, you're changing the layout, you're optimizing. And I think the website has to be like that. If it's rock solid and if it doesn't move either way, then I think you're doing it wrong. And most importantly, scalability. Can you scale with that website? So one of the reasons why we choose WooCommerce is it actually allows us to scale. We can add a lot more plugins to it without the overheads. Unfortunately, Shopify is a subscription model where they take a lot of the headaches, but at the same time, you have to pay for each plugin that you add. And in my opinion, for new businesses, WooCommerce ends up being a lot more affordable in the longer scale. Now, if you look into, the bigger picture, I've done some research and there's a website called 6 Cents. It's actually providing a bit of a breakdown based on like over 3 million online stores. And they claim that it's nearly 70% WooCommerce at the moment that is used in the world. And you've got Shopify and a heap of other ones. And then only like, 1.49% of the market using Magento. Now, I must tell you that Magento is a platform that a lot of bigger businesses use. So if you're going to look into, Video Pro, Harvey Norman, JB Hi-Fi, they typically are on Magento or something of that high caliber. And it's a completely different story with completely different overhead. So please don't compare these things side by side. If you're looking to start out and you're thinking Magento, good platform, but be prepared to spend a lot of money supporting that platform, because all the development around it does cost a lot more as well. All right, so let's talk about effective marketing tactics. And like I said, guys, I want to keep these things fairly general so we can have a bit of a conversation afterwards. But at the same time, I want to just tap on a few things that may potentially help you make a better decision in the future, or allude you to a certain avenue that may work better for you. So important to know, first of all, make sure you set goals. Whatever marketing you're going to do, set up a goal. What are you going to get in return? What is a good return on ad spend in your particular case? Like, you have to really set some boundaries before you go all in. I find that too many people go without goals, and then things just become, crazy, get out of control real fast. You have to understand that when it comes to e-commerce, your conversion rate is going to be 1 to 2%. There are different models, but overall, if you're just purely looking to sell online, you're basically selling to about 2% of your traffic coming through. So you have to do something to get user engagement across other platforms. And like I said, hardly any people buy in that first interaction. It's almost like dating, right? So you need to make sure that you've got something happening afterwards. Opt-in is a must. In my opinion, if you run an online store and you've got no name and email capture, then it becomes very difficult for you to do any email marketing. You have to capture as much information as possible. If you look into, Kogan's and all the other online stores, they always try to get your, your details, whether it's Facebook, installing an app, or opt-in through email. There's always something that captures your details. Competitive markets require a bigger budget. If you're wanting to start with like a $500 budget, I'm sorry, a lot of the time it's just not enough in order for you to really penetrate the market or get enough traffic going. So have a think about a decent budget and have realistic results on the back of that as well. Make sure you consider competitive advertising. What I always find is there's 1 or 2 businesses that run with exactly the same message. There's no difference. They offer exactly the same things. The price is exactly the same. And in my opinion, if you make a small difference, add something else to it, you do a lot better. So try to avoid those little clashes. And most importantly, on the actual website, make sure it's a very simple and an easy process for people to check out. And above all, it's got to be safe. So if you're going to put something together, make sure that the customer does feel safe by providing you with their credit card details. And for that reason, we recommend PayPal quite a lot. Not really the company I like, but I'd say 40% of customers choose PayPal over other ways of checking out because they trust it, and there's a buyer protection up to, I think, 3,000 people from memory. And another thing is, consider seasonality. Not every business is going to work 365 days a year. There's going to be periods in in a year where a business may potentially be peaking. Like, let's say, for a lot of online stores, you expect people to buy around Black Friday, for example, given the fact that you've actually got an offer, a specific promotion that runs around that. So don't expect the website to work 24/7, and understand your cycles. Now, it's a bit difficult to do this if you're starting out. However, if you're going to have a big enough competitor, you can actually do a lot of research on the back of them as well. And there's quite a few tools that allow you to have a look at their traffic and their seasonalities as well. So marketing avenues, let's talk about that. So in our case with photoelectric smoke alarms, 50% or even more comes through SEO. So this is ranking organically without us having to pay Google per click. And I would highly advise, if you follow in this niche model where you got a domain name which is keyword rich, your SEO has to be strong. So don't neglect it. I mean, you've already got an awesome domain name. You already built the content. Make sure you go all the way, and at least 50% of your sales are coming through SEO. Google Ads, we're probably investing about 30% overall, and that what drives a fair chunk of our sales. Meta ads, we found that obviously there's a different market, but the remarketing side of things works beautifully with everything else. Email marketing, once a month, twice a month emails, no brainer. You have to obviously understand how to structure those EDMs and turn them into buying customers. One thing that's trending right now is messengers and things like WhatsApp, Telegram, and Viber. So you will find that once you got someone's details, this is huge in Europe, by the way, you can actually use automated AI chatbots in order to start a conversation with your prospects or your list in order to lead to further sales. So we find that this is still something that's not quite there in Australia, but it is becoming bigger and bigger. And then you've obviously got Amazon and eBay, the big marketplaces, and you can actually connect your website. So we found that connecting our website got us a few extra sales. However, you need to understand that eBay specifically is very price competitive. At the same time, you pay about 9% of your product in order to make a sale. So there isn't really a marketing budget up front. They do have a pay-per-click model, which allows you to push harder. But yeah, overall, you have to understand what each marketplace does. Amazon, very similar, but they do have their own regulations as well. We found that Amazon, while quite big in Australia, didn't quite work out for our market. Yeah, so we still found the majority of sales were coming through. Now, with this picture on the right, we found, and this is specifically from the photoelectric smoke alarms, that majority of sales came through cross network. What that means is that it's not just the one channel driving the entire thing. We found that the journey usually started with paid ads and then went towards organic and then went towards things like social media, and then people came back and bought. So we find that across quite a few online stores right now, your cross channel is something that works really well. Some people call it omni-channel as well. And what that basically means is that if you're relying on just the one source, then you're missing out. You really need to make sure you can map all those customer interactions and bring them from exactly where those people hang out to where they can actually buy in an environment where they feel like they trust the actual brand or the process. So as a starting point, I find, for this particular approach where we've got a keyword rich domain name, Google Ads, search, and shopping is the easiest way to sort of test out your idea and see exactly what sort of engagement you're getting, what sort of sales you're getting. Make sure you've got your tracking set up. I think you got to create useful and unique product pages. The biggest issue is if you're selling a product that somebody else sells, typically, business owners just copy the description and the title from the source and they reuse it. Now, that is a huge problem. You want to make sure that your website has got unique content. Well, lucky we've got, things like ChatGPT that can allow you to rewrite the content of a page very, very quickly. And if you've got no time, but you want to obviously get those unique pages, make sure you train your ChatGPT with a particular script in order to develop content that is actually specific to your site. Now, do not rely on ChatGPT to do this for you. You have to train it. You have to feed it specific scripts. You have to tell it exactly how to write the content that you want. It is a bit of an art, but don't take ChatGPT lightly, please. It's a great tool, but you need to make sure it's conditioned. Highlight points of difference. So what's the point of difference with your business? And without this, I probably wouldn't market. If you're offering money back guarantees, free shipping, all that sort of stuff, it's got to really set you apart. You have to make sure you understand how you're different from the others. Risk reversal. So guarantees, money back guarantees, like I said, customer service using a phone, in our case, worked out really, really well. And yeah, make the whole process simple. If you can do it, within a couple of steps without someone having to fill out long and complicated forms, happy days. And yeah, PayPal and Stripe. So PayPal, obviously lots of people have got an account, and Stripe is something we use for payments, and it's becoming more and more common. So that's for credit cards. And look, alliance partners, a huge topic. I sort of touched on that before, but you want to obviously find something that's got a similar audience to you. And trust me, if you've got a big database, they will want to have a chat to you and see what sort of opportunities come up. So here's some tips for you. So before you start, tap into some places where your audience is at. So Reddit is a great spot for you to see what people are talking about. You can do a search on trends, hot topics, all sorts of things, interesting discussions, interesting feedback. YouTube, lots of channels, lots of useful content, and you can actually tap into that to get some feedback on your product. And when you start marketing, you can also use these channels as well, because this is where your audience actually hangs out. Bargain. That's a great website if you're looking for something cheap, or if you're running a promotion, you can post it up there. You can pretty much get sales straight away. They're probably not going to be as profitable as you think, but it's a great way to get that extra traffic and potentially build up your database as well. And look, free shipping always wins. I find that many people try to, invent something where like, oh, my shipping costs me, $10, $15 each time. I want to get, I want to get some money back. Well, you're always going to miss out to people who are offering free shipping. So you just got to find a way to justify that cost, or potentially create an upsell, add another product that will bulk up the price to cover that shipping cost. I think you got to be persistent with your email marketing. I've seen some websites that send you emails like, every 2 to 3 days. And look, while it may be annoying, it's about the effectiveness. I was buying my wife a Christmas present, and I looked at this website and I was distracted by something else, and they just kept sending me these emails about the offers and about the products and about the differences, of their product compared to something else. I ended up buying in the end purely because I was busy with something else. But I was obviously committed to buying this product. It was just a matter of time. If they didn't do it, I'd probably forget about it. So I find this is something that's easy, and the conversion window. Okay, if someone's going to buy a Christmas present and they start shopping on, let's say, the 15th of December, how long is that going to be? Well, it's quite an obvious scenario. With other situations, you have to really consider that. But I find that if someone wants to buy a product of about $300 or $250 in our case, you've got about a week or so for those people to make a decision, just to keep it real simple. If someone wants to buy something bigger, typically that conversion window is a lot longer. So Google Ads. I know a lot of people love Google Ads, and we're a Google Ads agency. We're in the top 5% of agencies in the world, and it's not about keywords so much at the moment. Google can do a lot of automation for you. I find that Google Ads at the moment is just about excluding non-ideals. In fact, there are quite a few products right now where you could actually plug in your Google account and they help you identify people who will never buy from you. So you can actually save up to like 30% of your budget, but not showing ads to people who will never buy from you. No idea how they do it. It's obviously a big data exercise, but my tip to you is make sure you've got a big exclusion list, because one thing that breaks my heart is, everyone obviously is a Google Ads expert these days and likes to use the automated stuff. You look into the history of searches and you look into the insights and you find all these keywords that where a business has spent, hundreds and thousands of dollars on things that would have never converted into a sale to start with. So make sure you exclude those non-ideals, keywords, audiences, and obviously, do your homework before you proceed with that. So overall, I find that, every business owner has got a bit of a business dream. And over time, as the time passes, they obviously arrive at some sort of a business reality. So is this going to be a business failure? Is this going to be an outrageous success? Well, time will show. But I think the best you can do is obviously do your homework and follow a particular process. I find that very few people succeed by doing things themselves. There are obviously some, but it does require a level of skill and obviously endless amount of time. So for me, I just, always recommend people, try to find, your competitor information. Try to find things that will, guide you in a particular path. Find a framework that you can follow. Find something that you can stick to in order to measure your success better. Otherwise, there's so many ways to fail. And look, there's nothing wrong with failure, but I think, if you're after a successful business, you definitely want to make sure you are set up right. So for that particular reason, I thought, where I can help your business is with things like strategy, marketing. I do run a couple of coaching programs for people that are starting out or potentially wanting to enhance things. And more recently about things like AI implementation. We find that this thing at the moment is just going nuts. AI has come to a stage where you can actually have a ready product that can really help your business. And at the moment, we are implementing a lot of AI chatbots where businesses are missing phone calls. So if you have a business where people keep calling you and you're not able to take calls and all you really want to do is qualify them and book an appointment, well, voila. For less than, $500 a month, you can have a whole system with a CRM in the back of it, booking appointments for you. And this is a very easy AI implementation. And there's heaps of other things that you can do as well. Live chats, you can do all sort of automations, and at the end of the day, it's just about making sure you understand what's available and able to do better. So for that reason, I'm happy to offer a consultation in relation to these things. And if there's anything I can help you with, let's have a chat, book a time using this QR code, or have a look at our website. You'll find the link, I'm sure. So Q&A. Let's talk about any questions that may have, come up during this presentation. I know we've covered a lot, and like I said, we are keeping this, fairly general. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure I give you an opportunity to, answer any questions. So if you guys have got anything you'd like to ask, let's open up the mics, and yeah, happy to have a chat. I'm sure Kevin may have a couple of questions. Kevin runs a business called trueproof.com.au selling indestructible dog beds. So Kevin, do you have any questions, mate? What do you think
I
about
don't
this
at the
presentation?
moment. Look, I've got a lot of questions, but probably more specific. More focused around an existing site versus a new site.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that, because obviously if you're going for a new niche, that and the reality is we kind of created the indestructible dog bed niche. Then a lot of competitors came and jumped in. So it's not a term that has existing sites there already per se, because people weren't thinking about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this is one of those emerging markets. So no one's had a website or a domain name before, and now you've tapped into something else. Look, this is where I'd probably recommend doing some research in the bigger markets, like the US market, to see if there's another way people search for these products or look for something that's somewhat similar to it. Maybe that'd be something like, indestructible toys that people are looking for that could lead into another product. So essentially, what I'd be recommending is tapping into that same market rather than specifically into that same product, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, well, happy to chat more about it, mate. I mean, you've got a interesting business, and I think the biggest challenge I'm finding with niche businesses is that over a period of time, you seem to be marketing your business to the same audience, which is where it becomes a little bit difficult to break through. Once they've sort of seen your message, you have to become very creative to actually pass that point. And look, it's a finite market, right? So at the same time, we're talking about dog owners in your case, where there's a lot more to be sold, but then the time dilemma kicks in, and it's like, well, when are they actually going to do that? If you're going to leave it at the mercy of Google, you can do X. If you're going to do some sort of creative campaigns at the market, that's where I think you've got a greater opportunity at potentially getting more sales.
Oh, thanks.
Cool, no worries. Any other questions? Happy to answer anything, guys, at this point, or I'll just pick on someone to see if you guys got anything. I know Nick has also got an online store selling some dog-related products. Should probably be talking to Kevin. Nick, you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. First of all, let me say thank you for all this information putting together. It's very useful for me personally. And yeah, we do have a few businesses. One of them is purely e-commerce dogs accessories for pets, as we have our lovely dog as well. And we have been, as you know, um, very welcome and with our dog, and decided to, okay, that will be something new for us, and decided to start a new business. The pitfall and the struggle is to build the brand awareness for the business from day one. So we designed everything ourselves and imported lots of products, brand new from overseas. And when we started approaching retail shops, I found out that it's pretty hard to build brand awareness first, because strategy based on price is not the most successful, as it shows, because there is always someone who wants to penetrate into the market and happy to beat you in terms of the prices. So my question would be related to building the brand awareness, and that was your recommendation as well. Build the brand awareness first, be more well known before you start approaching, and build the readiness to wait for a long time before they start knowing you, right? So my question for you would be related to build, to grow up the brand awareness, how to approach this issue, right? Because time is money, and we can spend lots of money on promotion without even knowing that your product will be in a high demand. So as you know, we have lots of products available here, in Australia, ready to ship very quickly, lots of merchandising, beautiful website, everything looks amazing, but it doesn't work as we wanted originally. It's not our core business, it's just our hobby business. We love it, but we want to grow it. So how to grow the brand awareness? What would you recommend?
Yeah, great question. Look, the whole brand awareness is a huge topic. First of all, I think you need to understand what that actually is made up of. So first of all, before you start doing brand awareness, it's actually very good to do brand validation. So what I mean by that is, if you were to approach some leaders in the market, so for example, in your case, who would be the leaders in the whole, dog space? Who do you think people would trust?
Yeah, I understand. So
For example, like RSPCA, for example, right? So can you do something with RSPCA to endorse your product? Because if you can create that familiarity between the brands that are already trusted in your brand, this is where the brand gets the validation. So it's a real brand. There's actually someone validating it. Because if you're going to look into just purely doing brand advertising, let's put you on social media, let's put you on YouTube, let's put you everywhere else, it doesn't quite stick. Okay, so it needs something to validate that whole thing. So for that reason, I find if you find the industry leaders and find a way to collaborate with them so they can actually validate your brand, or you could actually go the other way around saying, hey, our brand is being used by X, Y, and Z. I think that actually puts you on the map of brands that people can actually trust. The other thing is the whole brand strategy. This is a huge topic, and we should probably discuss this separately, but I'm sure you guys would have heard about Yeti, right? Yeti is the actual water bottles. They've got, Eskies and all the other things. We're talking about water bottles at $80. We're talking about Eskies for like $500. So how do they do it? The biggest strategy that they've developed is they've actually relied pretty much solely on their partners. So they found all the barbecue stores where they came up with a very interesting commission structure, and basically created displays where people could go and buy these products, and they made it interesting for the partners to resell their product, which is something that established them as the premium product. Look, you can buy the same water bottle for about $20, really. Like, it's high quality, there's no question about it. But all I'm saying is, it comes down to the strategy of you validating this brand and penetrating the market. So my advice would be going down the partner path before you spend a lot of dollars on everything else. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but I think that brand validation is a crucial exercise before you actually go into mass markets and just try to get more attention. A good way to potentially start is to build a list. If you do some sort of a giveaway initially, build a big enough list, you can get your brand through to a lot of people. But believe me, these people have never heard about you before. They've never done any business with you. And for that reason, there has to be some sort of an awesome interaction resulting in something that creates credibility. A review, I don't know, some sort of a testimonial or something that validates their business. If you're able to achieve that, in my opinion, I think that would work really, really well.
Thanks, Alex.
No worries.
I really appreciate it. I think it's a long journey still.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I mean, none of this stuff is instant, guys. It does take time, and I take my hat off to all the business owners that try. I mean, believe me, I failed, dozens of times before obviously pulling off a business that did, 7 figures. But at the same time, it's a journey. It's a way to learn. So yeah. Any final questions before we wrap up, guys? I'm happy to take another question. If not, I'm happy to share this recording with you guys in case you want to have a look over it again. Cool. All right. So yeah, some of the business we work with, we obviously got quite a big portfolio. Probably the bigger brand that you may know is Computer Alliance. This is an online store doing over $100 million a year, selling computer parts. And we look after these guys, and allowing us to work with businesses like that does give us a lot of insights to see what's working and what's available. But overall, I guess today I wanted to make sure that we could cover topics like choosing a niche, talk about expired domains, because in my opinion, that's probably one of the quickest things that you could implement to your business if you're wanting to tap into a particular market. Building websites and buying businesses, and then I wanted to obviously share with you marketing tips and insights as well to help you do better in what you do right now. If you want to get in touch, here are my contact details, and yeah, if you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe to my podcast. I try to do a podcast every couple of weeks. I've sort of slowed down a little bit, but yeah, it's just purely because I'm quite busy. but I am always looking for interesting guests as well. So if you know somebody like Kevin, for example, who's actually been on our podcast, I'd love to have a chat with them. Anyway, thank you for your time, guys. Absolutely love presenting this sort of stuff to you, because for me, it's just about sharing and make sure that we can create a positive change. And hopefully what you heard today will help us achieve that as well. Anyway, bye for now.